Hi and welcome to the second in my new series of guitar lessons for electric blues, classic electric blues. In this series I'm taking some of the greatest guitar players from the 40s, 50s, and 60s and taking 5 or so of their licks that they played in a lot of their songs, or maybe played especially well in one song, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to show you 5 of my favorite licks, runs, uses of chords or whatever by each of these different guitar players. The first lesson was on the playing of T-Bone Walker. This lesson is about the playing of the great Jimmie Rodgers, who played on recordings by Muddy Waters, other chess artists, and also had a fantastic career as a solo artist. Fantastic guitar player, and Jimmie Rodgers really wrote the book on how to play the second guitar in an electric blues band. But he was also a fantastic solo player, and I'm going to take some of his ideas that I use in my playing and show you what the licks are. First one comes from a song called Rock This House, which is a masterpiece of electric blues guitar playing. And this is a little double stop lick that I like and use quite a bit. I'll play in the key of G, just like the original song, and then I'll break it down for you. What I'm doing in the key of G, got my first finger anchored on the 1st and 2nd frets of the 3rd fret of the 1st and 2nd frets. First finger anchored on the 3rd fret of the 1st and 2nd strings. There we go. And then I am doing this double stop down here with my pinky on the 6th string, 6th fret of the 1st string, and my ring finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And then I'm doing this hammer-on pull-off with my ring finger. So first I'm hitting the 3rd fret of the 1st string, on, off, and winding up on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So it's just like that. And he uses it a number of different ways as a fill throughout the song, and that is just an easy lick. You're playing a solo, you can just comp it or roll into. Play almost a couple verses or a couple phrases of that in a solo. So that's one. Another great lick in the same song, which he uses as a fill just in one spot. But this is a lick that Chuck Berry made famous. And just like that first lick I showed you, this is another one that he uses in Rock This House. And Chuck Berry later took that and revved it up and went to town with that on a number of songs. But in the key of G, double stop, 1st and 2nd strings, 3rd fret. Then I'm going to do another double stop on the 2nd and 3rd strings at the 5th fret. And then I'm going to have my first finger on the 2nd and 3rd strings at the 3rd fret. Then I'm going to hammer down with my 2nd finger on the 3rd string at the 4th fret. And then I'm going to wrap up with my ring finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. And you can play that through the changes to the 4th chord. So if I'm on the 1 chord, the G, I'm playing. Then if I go to the 4 chord, which would be the C, instead of hammering down on that 3rd fret, I'm just playing the double stop, the 5th and the 3rd fret, and then winding up on the 4th string at the 5th fret. So like this. Then back to the 1. Something like that. So that is another great Jimmie Rodgers lick. That's two licks. Both of those are from the song Rock This House. I could go through the entire song and pull out all kinds of licks, but I want to try to give you some variety. Now, a third lick of Jimmie Rodgers that I really like is something you hear in a lot of his slower songs. And I'll explain the principle behind this. It's really a pretty simple idea. And you hear it in a lot of his songs as an introduction and also in quite a few of his solos. Let's say we're playing in the key of E. And you hear something like this quite a bit. This lick here, which is just a double stop. Key of E, here's my first position bar chord, E. So right above that on the 10th fret of the first string and the 12th fret of the second string. That is that E. Kind of an E7 type thing. So it's just a E shape, like this would be an E. 7th. Sometimes he plays it like that, sliding it quickly. Other times he plays it with the open strings. So that is something you can play. And if you're playing an F, actually, before we do that, let me show you a couple variations. One thing he likes to do with that lick, do a double stop slide. So he's going, I got my first finger on the 9th fret of the first string, then my second finger is on the 10th fret of the second string. So it's, then just take that same shape down 2 more, open. So now you could do that as an introduction to a song, or you could play it as a solo. And he does a lot of variations with that kind of thing. There's a song called Ludell, which I'm going to show you another variation of that, where he does something during the solo that's kind of cool. But that double stop run, you can just do it again. Then he might go to the back into the next part, single string part of the solo. But the double stop is a great way to lead it off, or really, spice up your solo there. Okay, lick number 4 from Jimmie Rodgers. This is similar to what we just played, but this time I'm going to start it off. This is from the song Ludell. I'm going to start it off at a different spot. Song Ludell in the key of A, which he basically plays as a country blues. He is playing long A chords and using his thumb on the bass. So when he's playing an A on this song, he is playing the open 5th string. Like that, with his pinky going from the 5th fret to his ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, while holding the 1st finger on that A position, barring the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings at the 2nd fret. And then when he plays a D in that song, he is playing the D, kind of a D minor type shape. He's got his 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then his thumb wrapped around the bass at the 2nd fret on the 6th string. You hear that chord. Then he goes to a D7, back to the A7. Excuse me. So that's basically how Jimmie would take the country blues and play it electrically. He's really playing the same chords you'd hear like Mance Lipscomb or even Lightning Hopkins play if they were playing a tune in A. Now over this, during the solo, he plays something that I like a lot, so I'm going to show that to you. He's playing in A, so I'm going to go down here to the 12th fret. I've got my 1st finger on the 12th fret of the 1st string, 2nd finger on the 13th fret of the 2nd string. He plays something like this at the beginning, or during the solo. That little walk there, I first heard that in Mance Lipscomb's playing. He does a instrumental called After Hours, which I teach on my website, and he uses that little lick in the key of E. So we're in A. So you could play that lick in A. Something like that. And that's another of my favorite Jimmie Rodgers type licks. Now the third or fifth and final Jimmie Rodgers type thing that I like is when he plays in the key of E. And there's a tune called In the Evening, which you hear this quite a bit. And what he's doing is he's playing a lot of single string notes that are really sort of dirty and nasty in the key of E up here in out of first position. So he starts out the tune with a you'll hear that, and then eventually he gets into this. But throughout the song, he's playing these fills. Up here in that first E position, which is a great place to play solo stuff in. And in the evening, he does all kinds of licks. And I'll just show you a couple of these in particular. One he does is a fill, where he kind of plays that. Something like that. So let me try that again. At the end of a verse. And he also just plays a lot of wicked stuff, bouncing from the 3rd fret of the 1st and 2nd string to the 2nd fret of the G string or 3rd string, and then to the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And every now and then he'll come down, and that is that classic lick you hear a lot in the playing of Johnny Guitar Watson, a lot more Lightning Hopkins playing. That's where Jimmie Rodgers is getting it from. But I'm just going down to the 5th fret on the 2nd string, sliding that and keeping the 6th or the 1st string open. So licks like that, and you can mix that up. Of different ways, but he is soloing in the key of E, just playing up here in that first position. And that is something else that Jimmie Rodgers does that I like quite a bit. If you listen to the song In the Evening, you'll hear him playing up in that area. What I like a lot is the way he combines the double stop with the single string runs, and that contrast makes the solo very, very interesting. So there you have it. Those are 5 of my favorite Jimmie Rodgers ideas or licks. I will continue this series with other great guitar players: Pee Wee Crayton, Otis Rush, Earl Hooker, Guitar Gable, whoever else I can think of. And this format allows me to show you, I think, quite a bit of things that you can use in any way that you want to, rather than just showing you particular songs and note-for-note stuff. If you have any feedback for me, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Any requests for any particular songs, guitar players, contact me.